Hello, and hello to all of you. This is our first live broadcast from Unity of Sedona. And, we're hearing that people are tuned in case you didn't know this, folks. There's people tuned in from all over the world. New Zealand and Japan and Sweden and Britain and so on. So it's kind of a cool thing that we get to share this with them. We're probably not really going to be able to share the service itself and the ceremony and all the things we do, at least not this time. But folks had asked us just to, do a little bit of an introduction. So let's all just say hello collectively to them all. Hello and good morning. That's in Japanese, Ohayo gozaimasu. And Hawaii, what is it? Aloha. Down under, good eye. And so on. Buenos dias, and so on. So, we're thanking everybody for tuning in with us. This is what we call sometimes before we start the service itself, or the message of the day, it's what we call Michael Mirdad's tirades. It's when I've been asked to share. Shh, act serious, people are watching. So during the tirades, they're slightly different. They're a little bit of teaching and also making some important points. If at any moment I seem at all irreverent, that's not typical at all for me. It would just be an accident. All right, so fine, I am a little irreverent. They call me the irreverent Michael Mirdad. And so there's a time and place for that, but it's all meant, because it's an illusion, doesn't matter. Anyway, kidding. But even in that, sometimes that's just important. It's just to be playful, and that's my kind of way of being light about things. But in a way, things are changing all around the planet. So I just want to share briefly about some topics there, including my own work. Things are changing all over the planet, and when I was asked this morning, well, I've been asked for a couple of days, and I kept saying, well, I don't know what we're going to talk about. But one thing, as soon as I heard that there are people from all over the planet tuning in, one thing that came to my mind that I'd like to share is that, the world's becoming smaller in the sense that we communicate all over the place. And I would like that to be nothing but great news, but at the same time, the world is also becoming a very heavy place. Every day, every year, it's becoming kind of a heavier energy. And, the world's not going to ever be the same as it was. I mean, there are days when we lived in relative peace and so on. And it's just not going to be that way. I'd like to think that we still have children that, do the things that we always did and not worry as much. And that's not really going to be the case. That's not going to happen. The world as we know it needs to end so the real world can be seen. It's here. The real world, a reflection of heaven, is actually here. We don't see it, though, consistently, and we're supposed to be able to see it. But we don't, because the other world is screaming in our face. And it's hard to see and hear anything else when such illusion is right in your face and screaming loudly. And you know what I mean by that? That's the stuff. That's the politics, and that's the war, and all that stuff is in our face screaming. So this is important for me to share this, and sometimes my tirades are a little lighter and sometimes a little heavier, but today I'm speaking because it's a global message. So it's very important for us to understand the world is, whenever we did think that it was kind of a copacetic place, it really never was. Yogananda says, don't get too comfortable here. This isn't your home. And when things aren't going your way, don't worry too much about that, because this is not your home. When stuff goes wrong and it kind of makes you a little bummed that things aren't going better, he says, use it as a reminder and just say to yourself, it's okay that it's not perfect here, because this isn't home. Capital H, home. This is only a place of reflection, meaning it's just a giant mirror. It's a giant holographic, seemingly three-dimensional mirror to reflect what? How we're doing in our consciousness. And if you don't like what you're seeing reflected, we have to change consciousness. And if you like it, you should be giving thanks for what you're seeing. So the world is nothing but a mirror. And again, we would like to be able to arrive and attend a place like this and have somebody say, everything's just fine. Everything's just peachy. Everything's going to keep going well. And what I'm saying is, let's be thankful for all the good we have and all the good we've ever experienced in our lives. Good meaning reflections of good choices. But at the same time, the world as we know it is changing. And it's not just changing like, wow, it's changing. Look at the new technology. That's just another illusion. All the things that we like and do not like of this world are going to disappear. They're all going to fade. They're all going to need to. And one reason I'm saying this is because there's people watching from all over the world. And people watch America and wonder, are we being the big brother we're supposed to be, the elder brother and helping other nations? Or do we sometimes get a little too selfish or fearful? We have to shift into expressing and experiencing God consciousness. We don't just sit around and own if we're a spiritual nation or a spiritual person. You don't just sit around and chant Om. You say Om and then you get up and do something right. You get up and do the next right thing. You get up and you help people. So nationally we're all supposed to be doing that. But I'm saying in part, and I think most of you would agree, we're saying to people in other parts of the world, they don't actually have centers on every corner like we sometimes do. They don't have books available. You might not know this as much as we do. To buy a $15 book here, for some people, it's like $50 in some countries. It's crazy. It's incredible. However, that's a test for them to step up and make it more available to themselves. So the fact that we can make ourselves available here to people all around the world, think about this. They don't have to do much of anything. We get to bring this spirit to them. So just sitting here today and holding presence and sharing like this, we're potentially making a difference in people's lives. Now, for myself, this is what I'm going to be doing, to a whole new level. Coming here was a change in a level of doing what I do, and now it's going to another level. I'm going to spend the last years of my life doing what I'm doing, and doing it even more so. So I'm launching ideas, and I'm just more and more saying, Christ consciousness. That's what this is all about. It's about awakening the I am presence. You don't have to call it Christ if you still have issues with that, but I suggest you get over them. Call me silly, but I think you might want to work on that. It's like having an issue with the word goodness or love, but work on it. Nevertheless, Christ consciousness. It's not a Christian name. It's the consciousness that God created us to be. And we forgot. So remembering that we're the Christ is not following a Jesus. It's becoming the mind that he had. It's choosing the same goodness and the mind that this person had. But you know who else had that? Mother Mary. And other individuals throughout history. But Mother Mary was an embodiment of Christ consciousness. Today is said to be a celebration, or this time period, this week, this month, of Assumption. The Assumption of Mary, the Ascension. New Agers might be more comfortable calling it the Ascension. More traditional people don't quite know what that word means. So they'll just call it something else. But it's like this person integrated the consciousness and rose into becoming that fully. And when you fully become who you are, which maybe we'll talk about this in the service in a bit, but when we fully become who we are, you automatically take it up to another level. She couldn't not ascend to heaven. People say, well, it's probably just a metaphor. Why? Why can't you believe that a woman could be so holy that her body would have to rise into higher dimensions? Mind, body, and soul, that she could just ascend. And we go, no, it's just a metaphor. It's not a metaphor. Humans can actually be that holy if they choose it. But this world is going to constantly try to push us and pull us and test us, the other directions. Look at the world. Money. Things are so much about money. Even your popular health stores are now on the stock market. They can't just serve you. It's got to become some sort of thing, some sort of, charts and graphs of how much profit you make off tofu. God, it doesn't even have any taste. Why does it have to be on the stock market? Don't get me started. Anyway. It's a bizarre world. And we can learn to say no. Grow your own foods, man. Come up with other ways. And I know people say, I don't have room. Some people have found ways to grow food on the rooftop. on their patio, and so on. There's always a way. Even if you grow one thing, at least you're saying, I'm here and I'm alive. I don't have to keep, fighting with corporate health products. It's just kind of silly. Now, I'm not saying hate it either. I'm saying see it for the illusion it is and just don't buy into it. War is something that everybody keeps waiting to end. The current wars that we're having are going to go another 10 to 20 years, if you can believe that. But I'm telling you that. It's going to go on for another 10 to 20 years. And when they end, there's no person or guy that you defeat. It's not going to end well. It's going to end in catastrophe. But, you may be telling us about that. So this is going to go on. And the bizarre treatment of money and the way people are so greedy. And one of the categories that we should at least see that is in churches. But this is important for us to hear. Stop depending on politicians to actually be good, healthy leaders. If we don't have that integrity within ourselves, we're not going to see it mirrored outside. But if we get our act together, we would create leaders that reflect our own holiness and healthiness, right? If we're totally messed up and we don't know how to be empowered, we keep putting it on others, it's a temptation for them to be misdirected because they can. Because everybody says, well, I'm going to vote for you whether you're crazy or not. Your candidates of today, man, come on. Oh, anyway. Running for office. Here are the two people, crazy and dangerous. And you don't even know which one I'm talking about. So that's just sad and weird. There have been people in history that had integrity. They're still politicians, they still play games, but there are some with a much higher order in mind. And they don't get voted for. Or they get tricked into not getting into office. So that's the world we've created. Don't expect politics and politicians to save you. Don't expect your religion to save you. Don't expect your race or your culture, anything else, to save you. They can't. It can't. Because they're all a reflection of us. The Savior is right here in our own choosing to follow what's right and what's healthy for us. And the more we can do that, the more we create healthier people. Getting a good person as a politician is really no different than selecting a healthy partner. You have to be involved. You have to check out what feels right, and we just keep letting things slip by. Unhealthy politicians and unhealthy partnerships. We go, well, what are you going to do? Yes, I'm getting involved in an unhealthy partnership, but what are you going to do? Everybody's got issues. So you're telling me that this person's the least of evils, and they'll make a good partner. See, and I don't agree with that sort of thing. As I'm coming to a close with this, churches also failed to impress me. I said in 1998, you're going to start seeing elections in politics going downhill starting then. I said they're going to start going downhill to simply reveal the worthlessness that they are. You're going to start seeing it come to an end because the world as we know it was coming to an end. Now some of you are going, oh, this is a bit strange and serious. Really? Did you not hear about the 2012 concept? Starts at the harmonic convergence. You got Grand Cross by the end of the year astrologically. You've got the millennium shift. You've got the 9/11 experience, of course. And you've got the 2012. These are huge shifts, markings of human consciousness shifting. So why would what I'm saying be anything surprising? Here it was 98, people are thinking, oh, this is nice. He's talking about politics for a moment and ending in religion as we know it. And they thought it was just chit-chat. No, it was a prediction, and it all happened. I said our economy is going to collapse soon, and within 2 years it was gone, as we know it. And people are actually still sitting around waiting for it to come back. As we know it, it should not come back, because we're asking for heaven on earth. So the economy that's founded on greed can't exist if you're asking for heaven on earth. They can't be simultaneous. Which do you want? Do you really want a more divinely reflective economy where everybody is abundant? What about politics where what is given as law and so forth, it's all transparent and everybody's involved in making those decisions? This can happen, guys. We can pull it together, and we will pull it together. The difference is the easy way or the hard way. So, you know, my heart goes out to people. I'm really sorry that life isn't and won't be what we hoped it would continue to be for your children and your children's children. Instead, we are part of the transition, and it's the toughest part to play. People were asleep years ago. They didn't even know this was coming. They just lived kind of in this trance. And they were probably better off than we are. Because in their ignorance, they had a false form of bliss. The people in the future are going to get the world that we create for them. They're going to do pretty well. Just a generation or two from now, it's going to all be done by then. So your, children's children, they're going to actually reap the benefits of what you're creating. But the bad news is you're the one that's doing the transition. You and I are the ones that are playing the role from the world that was asleep to the world that's awake. Well, you know what that's like. I'd rather be either awake or asleep. I hate being half, of each. Like, just groggy while you're awake, or awake when you're trying to sleep. That's a drag. Well, the metaphor is perfect for being on earth. And that's the life we live. So it's no wonder that just when you think you got it together, just when you think you healed something, stuff keeps popping up. That's because you're waking up, and yet you're trying to be asleep. And it's a very uncomfortable position to be in. So churches and such, there's supposed to be a certain responsibility to be a church, to be a spiritual place of gathering and consciousness. And all this is going to fall apart. I said this back in '98 as well. Churches, as we know, they're going to come to an end. I didn't know I'd have such a close-up view of it, but they're all, coming to an end. I mean, I didn't know I'd be playing a part watching all this happen so specifically. I travel to churches, and it's amazing, the stuff you hear going on. If it's not affairs, it's theft. If it's not theft, it's a board that controls a minister. And if it's not that, it's a minister that controls the board. It's just crazy. And this is supposed to be the best of the best. Those who are churches and representing God on earth is supposed to be the highest reflection of goodness, like flawlessness. And if you can't do that, don't be a church. Don't be a spiritual leader. Don't get on the board. Never get on our board if you think, I'm going to get on the board so I can help make some changes. You're here to serve if you're on our board. You're not here to control. You're here to serve. And if on any other church, if you don't get that, then you shouldn't be there. So the world is changing, politics and social systems and economy, churches as well. All the stuff we thought we knew is falling apart. And I think we really need to look at this seriously in a good way and take heart, find compassion for one another. There are people that would have liked to have a little of the more fun or sometimes peaceful world we once had for periods. That stuff's going to end now. You're going to keep hearing on the news, this and that and the other. You don't have to watch the news then. Just know this stuff goes on and stop obsessing on it. My recommendation is withdraw all power you give everything outside yourself. Stop saying, I would be happy if only a different president were in office. If only the economy would change. If only this, forget it. A Course in Miracles tells you the ego's whole thought system is founded upon if only. Because it means you walk around your life saying, I would be such and such if only such and such weren't happening. And that means you miss everything. The things you think you long for, you are. You already are those things. So it's a matter of owning those things and saying, wow, I am female, I am male, I am gay, I am straight. And just really embracing that. Let go out of the nervous system. Shake off all fears. Shake it off. If you have to literally do it, shake it off. Shake off whatever your mother told you that you needed to be. Your father told you what you needed to be. Shake everybody off. And then stand free. Wow, now what? I don't know. And that's a good answer to have. Because I don't know means, but I'm willing to find out. What if? Not if only, it's more of an anticipatory, what if? What if we trust? Let's try it. Let's try and ask who is the politician you're needing to most resonate with and vote for them if you want to vote. Shop at the stores you most resonate with. But we've got to shift out of this trance of either buying into the illusion and the trance of thinking that we'll just hang around and be. then you be worthless. The days of, I'm just going to, be mundane, or the days of we all need to whisper and be mystics. Those days of those extremes are dying. Just like any other prediction I've made, look it up, track it down, my predictions, they come true. This is one more, it's dying. You have to become both centered and integrated within yourself. A way to be and do at the same time. You see, being, and you don't just whisper and talk all breathy and new agey. When that's what's called for, that's what I love about people, is that we can learn to not be an extreme to prove we're that extreme. We can actually integrate and imagine, guys, everybody in this room, imagine, when we leave here today, we only got this one thing, and it's how to be an integration of true being. So today, I'm needing to take an action. Today, I'm needing to just rest, hang back on a hammock and meditate. A true master should be able to do either, rather than constantly trying to lean towards one or another, or fighting to create one or another. A true master doesn't always have to do things at light speed, nor always slow. True master says, what is it that's needed? And if the moment calls for now, get up and move. And if it calls for chill, chill. That's true mastery. So I'm closing with that. This is the world, it's changing, and it's changing through us, as us. It's not going to be who you vote for. It's going to be through who we are. And we own that, who we are. We own that. I am, before you know I am divine, you have to know I am here and now. I am scared. I am struggling. I feel a little lonely. Only what seems to be. And when we do that, honestly and vulnerably, the greater I am starts to shine like light through the clouds after living in this darkness for a long time. And something just amazing happens. The I am shines so brightly, the I am not disappears. That which I am not disappears. I withdraw all the power I gave family, politics, government, religion, and so on. I withdraw the power. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying they're nothing but what we make them to be. So when we withdraw our power from them, the power all gets consolidated right here. And I become healthy and whole, and you know what's going to happen next? Those systems in the world will start to reflect a group of people that are whole and healthy, healthier. Is that all making sense? So we may share other things like this. In fact, we might share a little bit of our service in a little while. So folks are on live. How do you look at a camera and not, do something? What am I going to do? Like, namaste. Now must go. So instead, we may be filming more and inviting folks back in 10 minutes or so. But one way or another, we'll try to share these tirades and such with the world. But please know that in my own work, that's what I'm going to still do. Everything I'm doing here, that will not change, and we'll keep ramping up what we share here. And this has one particular vibe. But there's also this other of sharing with the world things that we really need to share with the world. And that is, I'm just going to keep launching into this Christ consciousness idea. Just nurturing and awakening. It's all about awakening the inner Christ, awakening the inner I am divine presence. So, and I've always done that. But to some degree, I've also always, done my best to honor and respect wherever I'm speaking and so forth. You got to be careful. Some people don't want you to say this too much or that too, and Christ too much or this. I'm at an age now where I don't care. When you get old, this happens, I guess. You start blurring stuff. And go, I didn't say that, what? So I appreciate your support in everything, and if this wasn't what you expected for a moment of this brief announcement, then process it. But this is very important, and we are taking this, to the world to a new level. And I really appreciate all the people that I have, who have recently been asking me to do this and film something. And for months and years, I have loathed their ideas because various reasons. you know, I really like people. I do. I like people and I want to share with people. So when they start saying film it and put it out there, it's not the same for me. So I had to spend years processing the idea of shifting into technology and sharing with people that way rather than in person. That wasn't easy because I like people. But they've worked on me enough and chipped away at my thoughts and resistances around it, and I said, okay, it's time. So that's what we're doing and why we're doing it, okay? People can support that. They can become sponsors of the work I do. They can just watch. They can listen. And I want to say this before we're done. You know, usually when you're in this kind of work and you're trying to stream something and sell something and so on, what you try to do is keep ramping up the numbers. Let's get more friends on this social media. Let's get more connections. I'm different. I know, it's obvious, but I'm different. I'm like, we just sent out a message to my own personal email list, Grail Productions, you know, and we said, if anybody's out there that, you know, can update, if you're getting this, you have to update what state you live in. Our materials are not, some of these are 20 years old. We don't have all accurate info where people live. So we said, answer and reply and tell us where you live. We had, lots of people don't. They don't open bulk mail, they don't do this, or they don't respond, they don't have time. I'm not the type to go, well, let's keep them on the mailing list so we have more people, because that's just so cool. No, we dumped 1,000 people this week because you don't have the courtesy to respond, I'm not interested in having you. But understand, this is the same as I would do in a relationship. I want healthiness, I want clarity, I want honesty, and I want communication. If it's not there, I'm not interested in having the relationship. Even if it means dropping 1,000 listeners by, I don't care. I want healthy only. So that sounds harsh to some people, but listen carefully. It's consistency that some people are not used to. So for me, doing these extra things, it had to be done right, and it had to feel like it had integrity. And, you know, having mailing lists and growing like that, it all had to stay very consistent for me to be okay with it. And I see that the crew we're using here are really doing an incredible job of maintaining that. So that's why I'm able to launch forward, because we all co-created a vessel that I feel comfortable stepping into and using as a means for taking this to another level. It's not about hype and so forth. It's about authenticity and a true message. So thank you.